Mortal Kombat X had big shoes to fill, being the Mortal Kombat game following the very successful Mortal Kombat 9. Mortal Kombat 9 is a lot of people's favorite Mortal Kombat game, and I'd argue it's because in a lot of ways, it actually plays it very safe. It retells and further brings to life the original Mortal Kombat story. The gameplay is also very straightforward. You have your characters with no variations or customization or cameos. With a franchise like Mortal Kombat, a lot of the appeal is nostalgia and comfort, so it's no surprise that when you add in new mechanics to alter the base fighting, a lot of longtime fans see it as an overall negative to the experience. The roster of Mortal Kombat 9 is also full of classic characters. I believe the only new characters were Scarlet and Cyber Sub-Zero. I'm actually not sure if Cyber Sub-Zero appeared before Mortal Kombat 9 or not. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. Mortal Kombat X, on the other hand, took risks in pretty much every way. The roster introduced way more new characters than any other title in the NRS era, and along with giving those characters big roles in the story, leading to a lot of decisions that people either love or completely despise, like Cassie beating Shinnok at the end. I do think the decision to add all these new characters was overall a positive. Some of them, like Cassie, are a little bland, and it could be argued that giving her a roster spot over a character like Sindel doesn't make a lot of sense. However, characters like D'Vorah, Kotal, Takeda, and Kung Jin had really fresh designs and playstyles that led to them all having huge fan bases. I personally loved Takeda and Kotal Khan, and I'm looking forward to what they do with Takeda when he releases for Mortal Kombat 1. Also, I'm holding out hope for Kotal being a part of Combat Pack 2. New characters wasn't the only big risk NRS took with the roster of MKX. While MK9 included guest characters like Freddy Krueger and a tournament-banned Kratos that was only on PlayStation, MKX went all in and doubled the guest characters, adding Jason Voorhees, Leatherface, Alien, and Predator. I personally love guest characters. Mortal Kombat is a nostalgic franchise from the early 1990s and on, so adding guest characters from movies during that time is just the perfect fit. Plus, we get to have dream matchups like Jason vs. Leatherface, and Alien vs. Predator, and a legitimate tournament fighting game. I just feel like it's so awesome. MKX also brought older, more obscure characters to life with crazy deep movesets and variations like Tremor and Tanya. Variations did complicate the gameplay more than maybe the old hardcore fans would like, but in the case of characters like those two, they really shined and brought out multiple viable playstyles. Goro as a playable character was also amazing, along with maybe the best DLC character NRS has made to date, Triborg. They somehow fit 4 characters into one and it worked. Even though they shared normals, you always felt like you were playing as 4 different characters or against 4 different characters when it came to the robots. Even if they're not some of your favorite characters in the franchise, I think we can all agree that the concept of Triborg was executed almost flawlessly. There are some roster choices that I personally disagree with. I'm not a big fan of Bo Raicho, especially in MKX where I felt like they kind of held back on the goofiness a bit. He was still farting and puking and all that, but without the 3D charm, it kind of felt like a half-baked attempt at reintroducing him, you know, like, he's not, like the 3D era had this, like, extra kind of, like, weirdness to it that I think made Bo Raicho fit, but whenever they made it more serious with, you know, the new NRS games, I don't know. He had fun gameplay, though. Another one I don't really like is the addition of Shinnok in place of Shang Tsung. I just will always prefer Shang over Shinnok. I think he's a lot cooler and more iconic, just my opinion, though. Moving on from the roster, the gameplay of Mortal Kombat X was super fast-paced and encouraged non-stop aggression. Forward movement across the cast was very good, along with a run button that could be used to close space, apply block pressure, and extend combos. On top of that, backwards movement was generally slower, and backdashes required half of your stamina meter. Because of these factors, outside of Tekken, MKX is probably the least zoner-friendly fighting game. This made not only the game extremely fun to play, but tournaments extremely fun to watch. It was so fun seeing players like Sonic Fox and a Foxy Grandpa put together these high-octane game plans to overwhelm their opponents. The pre-release tournament Fatal 8 and the gameplay of players like those two, DJT and MF Slayer, actually got me into the competitive fighting game community, and I've been here ever since. Characters like Liu Kang and D'Vorah had fireball moves that could be run cancel for plus frames on block or combos on hit. Characters without those generally had something else really strong to offset, like a powerful armored move or really powerful mix-ups. It felt like every character at least had one variation, if not two, that could steamroll the opponent if used correctly. Bo Raicho, for example, was seen as a very low-tier character, But if you watch Rewind play him, or Sex, I think his name's Sex, y'all probably know him. He's a big MKX YouTuber these days. He's going to look like a top, but yeah, he's going to look like a top tier character in their hands. Because there's just so many offensive options and ways to express yourself in this game compared to a game like Mortal Kombat 11. At the time, this style of gameplay was, seen as like too random, like too fast paced, just a coin flip. And a lot of people in the NRS community, and especially the FGC as a whole, just like hated it. And I don't know, I feel like that's kind of what led to the gameplay we got in MK11. Fighting games, they're just very salt-inducing and can lead to people blaming the game nonstop. But we should really be careful with that, because I don't think we all knew what we had with MKX. And if they kept this style of gameplay and just kept polishing it, I think Mortal Kombat would be in a much better state right now. This was also the first Mortal Kombat to introduce GGPO netcode, which is essentially online netcode that uses a prediction system to get rid of delayed lag, making it feel very close to offline gameplay and good connections. Now, fighting games do have story modes and some offline modes, but let's be real, a big aspect of fighting games has always been playing against other people, even if you're not trying to be competitive. So good online was a much needed addition that we finally got with MKX. MKX also had a Wiz Khalifa song in the reveal trailer. Now, Wiz isn't my favorite artist in the world, but the song he used was a lot better than the 21 Savage one for MK11, let's be real. I also loved MKX because I main possessed Kenshi, which is basically Kenshi being a demon, and I loved it because I feel like sometimes I am a demon, especially at 3 AM when I'm a little lonely. Being able to relate to your fighting game character is half the battle after all. Makes me wonder what's really going on with D'Vorah mains. Sometimes I want to drop multiple diss tracks from D'Vorah players, similar to how Kendrick Lamar did Drake earlier this year. You ever think about how someday there will be no trace of our current civilization, and the future civilization will stumble upon a relic of our time on this earth? Even though it's more likely that they'll stumble upon a Drake album, I hope they instead stumble upon a copy of Mortal Kombat X, so they too can experience what is, in my opinion, the best Mortal Kombat game. Ed Boon would be proud of that civilization in the distant future. His life's work would then live on. They'll hear him say, "Get over here," and wonder who voice acted that. Little do they know it was Edward Boonathan himself, a man who brought joy to many people's lives, myself included. One thing that I want you to take away from this video is be thankful for what you have. A lot of us were not thankful for Mortal Kombat X at the time, and now that we have games like Mortal Kombat 11 and 1, look back, we look back with fond memories and wish that gameplay would have been pursued further. After all, Tekken is the most glazed fighting game, and a big reason for that is the gameplay is the same every time and they keep refining it. I mean, whenever they add one new mechanic, that whole community turns into doomers. Like, did you see, like, Arslan Ash and, like, Knee's Twitter when they added Heat? I think if they just stuck with MKX's gameplay and polished it these last 9 years, I feel like we would be in a way better state right now. If you made it to the end of this unhinged section of the video, include the word Chama in your comment. That's how I'll know you're a real one. Chama. Much love, everyone. Have an amazing day.